Hey guys, before starting this video, please watch the previous ones, not because it makes sense, but that's the order that I released them, especially for this October Halloween tradition of where I talk about disturbing things. Please watch them. I talk about bad Lost Media movies and why they can't be fixed, the scary clown apocalypse of 2016, and some memes that came from tragedy. So if you're interested in any of those subjects, please go watch them, and if you're ready to watch this one or you just want to get into it, please enjoy. So I've talked about Lost Media since the beginning of my YouTube channel. I've been interested, not because it gets me the views, even though thankfully it does, but I'm just genuinely interested in the media itself, why it was banned, and the reasons that led to its, disappearance. Why is this video game lost through time? Why is this specific scene of a movie just non-existent? Well, there's a plethora of reasons regarding that. And in this video, I'll explain probably the good reasons why they're not here. You know that I love talking about dark Lost Media and concepts of Lost Media that are very heavy in disturbing subject matter. So if you're not sensitive, if you can't deal with stuff like suicide, sexual assault, even including children, please leave this video, enjoy the other ones. They won't include any of that. But if you have watched the previous video and or just ready to watch this video, then please allow me to introduce you 100 pieces of Lost Media that should not have or should never be found. So sit back, relax. Remember, it is 100 pieces of Lost Media, so it's gonna take a while. Please enjoy. Terrifying 9/11, also known as Shocking 9/11 and Special Forces 2 Base, is a Game Boy Color game developed by Hitech, released in the early 2000s after the September 11 attacks. This game is essentially a port of a Metal Slug game and includes an opening video with real footage of the Twin Towers being attacked, paired with a strange 8-bit version of Shur La Shalom. When the game starts, it shows an introduction and a brief conversation between Osama bin Laden and President at the time, George W. Bush. The conversation discusses a terrorist hijacking that caused destruction and injury. Bush accuses bin Laden of the attacks, to which bin Laden denies involvement, claiming there is no evidence. Despite the game's sensitive and controversial content, players generally consider it a quality port of Metal Slug. It is believed that a version of Metal Slug was intended but never completed, leading to the game's release by Hitech. Copies of the game are rare, surfacing occasionally for sale online. Originally released in a limited English version, a Mandarin version surfaced online in 2015 and has since been dumped, emulated, and translated. Rugrats Storyboard Jam. A storyboard jam is a collaborative storyboard created by various members of a cartoon's production crew, often leading to crude or offensive content. These jams are said to help relieve stress during projects. One notable storyboard jam, called Incredible, began in 1998 with Klasky production crew of Rugrats. Recounted by animator Steve Russell, the jam started with a scene where Angelica treats Tommy poorly, prompting him to prepare a drink with dog food and Drano. Initially, Russell rejected the comic but later added to it. His contribution depicted an abusive Stu arriving home and making inappropriate comments towards Angelica while Tommy reacted nervously. Russell's addition sparked disapproval from some artists, but he continued by illustrating scenes involving crude imagery and exaggerated male anatomy. Russell produced about 12 frames, significantly more than the other artists who contributed 3 to 4 frames each. As the jam progressed, it included graphic scenes between the characters and became increasingly inappropriate. Russell expressed his disgust at what the comic had evolved into, but the storyboard was eventually taken to share with the production crew of The Wild Thornberrys, where it was confiscated by an executive producer due to its disturbing content, marking the end of the jam. The fate of the confiscated pages remains unknown. Russell, who initially claimed discomfort with this storyboard, later accused by YouTuber Shannon Strucci in 2020 of grooming her as a teenager, providing evidence of inappropriate messages and artwork he sent her. Snuff is a novel by Chuck Palahniuk, released in May 2008, that combines elements of thriller and black comedy. The story follows Cassie Wright, a porn star who aims to break the record for film sexual intercourse by sleeping with 600 men. Alongside her, the narrative delves into the experiences of 4 characters involved in the production of the ambitious project. Set to be the titled World War III, the horror horror to end all horrors, these characters include an aging porn star, a former television detective, a young man who may be Cassie's long-lost son, and Cassie's assistant provides insight into the dark reality of the porn industry. The novel is inspired by real-life adult film star Annabelle Chong, who garnered attention for her attempt to have sex with 251 men in one day. Cassie's intention to film this record-breaking endeavor becomes entangled with thoughts of her troubled career and a desire to provide for her son through the film's profits and her life insurance. Snuff explores the disturbing facets of the pornographic industry rather than glorifying it, showing the mindset of those willing to participate in such extreme productions. Upon its release, Snuff received mixed reviews. Positive critiques highlighted the book's humor and engaging plot, while some reviewers felt it did not explore its interesting premise fully, and others considered it one of Palahniuk's less compelling works. Readers familiar with Palahniuk's style may still find elements they appreciate since it shares themes present in his early novels. A film version was first mentioned in 2010 with plans for production to begin in Los Angeles. Initially, a screenplay was written by Fabian Martorell and Karina Wilson, with casting announcements made for actors like Daryl Hannah and Thora Birch, though those claims were later denied. Despite initial optimism, progress on film stalled, leading to its eventual cancellation in 2016. Palahniuk announced that a television series adaptation was being developed with financial backing from Studio Canal, but this project also did not come to fruition. La Rosa de Guadalupe is a Mexican TV show created by Carlos Mercado Orduña in 2008. The show focuses on modern Mexican life and addresses issues like drug addiction, sexual harassment, and pop culture. Although it is popular, it faces criticism for its poor acting, handling of trends, and negative portrayal of various communities. A significant controversy arose following an attack on El Campamento Colibre in Mexico on July 12, 2012, where 90 people were assaulted, including 7 teenagers who were tortured and robbed. This incident inspired an episode titled Adios Inocencia, meaning goodbye innocence. When a sneak peek of the episode aired on August 10, 2012, parents of the victims complained to Televisa's president Emilio Azcárraga, asking for the episode not to be shown. Consequently, the episode was never officially aired, although some claim it may have been broadcasted later in 2013 or 2014, which remains unconfirmed. The episode follows Carolina and Magda, who expect a fun camping trip, but face a nightmare when criminals assault the campsite, leading to tragedy. 4 years later, Carolina finds her attacker and plots to make revenge, consumed by anger. Only a miracle can save her from the dark path. Currently, only a sneak peek is available, and the status of the full episode is unknown. It is unlikely to be released due to its controversy. Groupie is a short film created by Marilyn Manson, shot in one night between 1996 and 1998 during a house party he hosted. The film features a stooge actress playing a young groupie who is made to perform increasingly disturbing acts in front of Manson's unsuspecting guests, who only knew about her arrival and the filming would take place. The film starts with Manson engaging in a shocking act with bandmate Jordy Twiggy White, and then introduces the groupie, who brings a piece of artwork as a gift. As the film unfolds, the groupie is coerced into drinking urine from a wine glass, initially convincing Manson to drink some as well. Additional unsettling events include the groupie being tied up, the introduction of a gun, a physical altercation, and even bloodshed. Guests left the party confused about the authenticity of the events, with elements being both staged and real. The actress may not have been fully aware of what would transpire. Only 3 individuals have seen the film: Manson, comedian Andy Dick, and Manson's former manager Tony Ciulla. After viewing, Ciulla urged Manson to hide it, fearing legal consequences or damage to Manson's career if it was released. Manson has only shared a small part of Groupie, shown in his 1998 live video album Dead to the World, and hinted at a release date in 2016, which has since passed without the film becoming available. The film is also mentioned as an unreleased short film in Manson's filmography. Although the actress who was Manson's ex was unaware of this claim, she stated that she gave full consent for everything that happened during filming and reported that there was no inappropriate behavior, like drinking urine as some had suggested. She expressed feeling safe while working with Manson. Jenny Jones Show was a daytime talk show hosted by Jenny Jones, which gained notoriety in 1995 due to the murder of Scott Aminger. This incident occurred after the taping of an episode titled Same-Sex Crushes, which focused on Aminger's crush on his co-worker Jonathan Schmitz. Unaware of Aminger's feelings, Schmitz believed that the crush was from Aminger's female colleague. During the taping, Schmitz laughed off the revelation, but on March 9th, 1995, just 3 days after the episode was filmed, Aminger was shot and killed by Schmitz at Aminger's home in Michigan. Schmitz, who had a history of mental illness and substance abuse, was convicted of second-degree murder and sentenced to 25 to 50 years in prison. He was released on August 22, 2017. After media coverage of the murder and trial, producers chose not to air the show. However, some parts were shown during Court TV's trial coverage and featured in the HBO documentary Talk to Death and the series Trial by Media. On January 21st, 2023, a Reddit user, Underclass King, posted that they found the whole episode on Court TV's website, which aired from about 7:47 to an hour and 9 minutes during Schmitz's trial. The Wayback Machine shows that the episode has been available since at least June 2022. On September 4th, 2006, Steve Irwin, an Australian wildlife expert known as the Crocodile Hunter, was killed by a stingray while filming a documentary called Ocean's Deadliest in the Great Barrier Reef. The attack, which occurred as Irwin tried to swim over the stingray, was recorded on camera due to his rule that filming should continue in dangerous situations. Eyewitnesses reported that the stingray struck Irwin in the chest, injuring his heart. His crew quickly pulled him from the water onto their boat, rushing to the shore while trying to save him with CPR. Despite their efforts, Irwin was pronounced dead by paramedics shortly after they arrived. His last words were reportedly, "I'm dying." The footage of the incident was given to Queensland authorities and later returned to Irwin's family, who are said to have destroyed it. Justin Lyons, the cameraman during the attack, expressed hope that the footage would never be released to respect Irwin's family, and he mentioned that he no longer has it. In the years since his death, some alleged clips and images have appeared online, but their authenticity has not been confirmed, and they are most likely fake or misleading. On October 5th, 2003, Timothy Treadwell and his girlfriend Amy Huguenard were killed by a grizzly bear while camping in Katmai National Park. 6 minutes of audio recorded during the attack were found on their video camera, which has never been released to the public. Treadwell has spent 13 summers living with bears of Katmai National Park and documented over 100 hours of footage. He was interviewed on The Late Show with David Letterman in 2001, where Letterman suggested that Treadwell had been eaten by a bear. Amy Huguenard, who was less confident around bears than Treadwell, had expressed concerns several times during their fatal trip. She initiated the recording of Treadwell's final moments, forgetting to remove the lens cap in her haste. A fake online clip of the first 2 minutes of the recording showed up online in the years following the incident. Believed by some to be genuine, however, Kevin the Bearman Sanders of Yellowstone Outdoor Adventures claims that the aforementioned clip is fake, citing differences between it and the actual audio. In 2005, German director Werner Herzog released a documentary film on Treadwell titled The Grizzly Man. During the production, Herzog was granted access to the audio by Jewel Palovac, Treadwell's ex-girlfriend, who had been given the tape by authorities. After listening to the full recording, Herzog suggested to Palovac that she destroy the tape, lest it become the white elephant in her room for the rest of her life. Palovac has since admitted that she did not want to destroy the tape, instead choosing to store it on her safe deposit box. On June 22, 2023, YouTuber Wired Awake enhanced the audio from Grizzly Man, allowing viewers to faintly hear Treadwell scream, "Get away," and hit it. Don Brancheau, a SeaWorld trainer, was tragically killed by Tilikum, the largest killer whale held in captivity at SeaWorld Orlando in 2010. The incident, documented in the 2013 film Blackfish, stirred controversy about the safety of trainers and killer whales. SeaWorld has been the subject of over 70 incidents over the past 30 years, with Brancheau being the first to result in such attacks. Brancheau, a perfectionist, taped her shows to improve her performance. The incident was caught on tape, but did not show anything after Tilikum dragged her arm. SeaWorld fought to make it look like an accident instead of an attack, even claiming it was due to Brancheau's ponytail being dragged underwater. Eyewitnesses reports and available footage prove that Tilikum attacked Brancheau because she had run out of food to reward him for his tricks and because he failed to perform one of the tricks to the fullest. Because of the incident, it is now required by US law that SeaWorld's trainers only interact with orca behind a barrier. Many organizations have fought to make it illegal to keep killer whales in captivity in general. The remaining footage has never surfaced, and it is not known who holds the data. Even though SeaWorld events are commonly filmed by tourists, not even amateur footage has been seen. A fake video claiming to be the incident on YouTube remains another lost video of the tragic event as well. Issei Sagawa invited his colleague Renee Hartveld and murdered her while she was reading poetry, shooting her with a rifle. He then mutilated her body, consuming parts of her flesh over several days. He photographed and recorded the crime and even engaged in necrophilia. His attempts to dispose of her remains failed when he lost a suitcase filled with body parts in a public garden, leading to his arrest. Although his crimes shocked the world, Sagawa was not in prison long term, instead being sent to a mental institution, where he stayed for a few years before being released. released. Surprisingly, he later became a controversial minor celebrity in Japan, appearing on television and publishing books about his life and crime. On March 9, 2001 in Rotenburg, Germany, 39-year-old IT technician Armin Meiwes met with engineer Bernd Brandes after arranging online for Meiwes to kill and consume him. Both men shared a cannibalism fetish, though in opposite roles. Meiwes had long fantasized about eating human flesh, while Brandes harbored a desire to be eaten. Their correspondence began on the now-defunct Cannibal Cafe, an internet forum dedicated to fantasy cannibalism, where Meiwes had posted an ad seeking a willing victim. Unlike prior candidates who backed out, Brandes consented fully and followed through. Upon meeting, Brandes requested that Meiwes bite off his penis. When this proved impossible, it was removed with a knife. Brandes attempted to eat raw but failed, leading to Meiwes to cook it with fat, spices, and marinades. However, the penis was burned beyond edibility and ultimately fed to Meiwes' dog. Severely weakened, Brandes was placed in a bathtub where he bled out for several hours while Meiwes read a Star Trek novel. After giving Brandes alcohol, sleeping pills, and painkillers, Meiwes kissed him on the forehead before stabbing him on the throat. In a specially prepared room, Meiwes hung Brandes' body, dismembered him, and filmed the entire process on a 2-hour videotape. Over the next 10 months, Meiwes consumed up to 20 kilograms of Brandes' flesh, storing body parts in his freezer. The crime only came to light after he openly shared details on the Cannibal Cafe forum and sought another willing victim, prompting a forum user to alert authorities. Police seized the videotape, which has been kept under strict control, shown publicly only during Meiwes' trial, an event so disturbing that some journalists reportedly required therapy afterward. Alleged screenshots have circulated online, but their authenticity has never been confirmed. Initially convicted of manslaughter and sentenced to 8 years, Meiwes' case was retired in 2005, where the charge was elevated to murder. He is currently serving a life sentence in Kassel Prison, Germany. In later interviews, Meiwes expressed deep regret becoming a vegetarian and warned others with cannibalistic fantasies never to act on them. The Crow is a 1994 action horror film directed by Alex Proyas and starring the late Brandon Lee, son of the famous action star Bruce Lee, in his first film and final lead performance. The film follows a man who's brutally murdered and then comes back from the dead with supernatural powers. During the production in 1993, Brandon Lee was on the set filming an action scene. In the middle of a stunt, a gun that was loaded with blank cartridges suffered a malfunction. The spent blank casing from an earlier shot was jammed into the barrel. Upon using the gun again, the second blank went off and propelled the cartridge from the earlier shot forward, which hit Lee, who was rushed to the hospital and died later that day. His death was caught on camera and was allegedly destroyed under the insistence of the director. However, some of the cameramen claim otherwise, including one who even claimed to own a copy of the death footage. This footage has never been released or seen, and no legitimate stills from the footage have been found either. Rendition Guantanamo was a 3D action game developed by Scottish studio T Enterprise for the Xbox 360 and PC in 2009. The project aimed to highlight human rights concerns about the detention camp, but was cancelled after heavy controversy. T Enterprise, a Muslim-run studio, began development in 2008 with €250 budget and hopes to strong sales, particularly in the Middle East. The game was intended to be a trilogy with Mozam Beg, a former Guantanamo detainee, consulting on prison details and lending his likeness and voice. Backlash from some concerned that the game would showcase the players killing US and British soldiers was expected, but T Enterprise director Zahar Chishti expected this. He insisted that no soldiers would be killed and that the enemies would instead be a mercenary group called Freedom Corps. However, negative mainstream attention arose following the news of Beg's appointment and the release of the game's teaser trailer. Vets for Freedom strongly criticized Rendition Guantanamo's concept, believing it to be a blatant attempt to twist reality and change the perception of the American soldiers. They also opposed having the protagonist be the detainee and the supposed American soldiers being the enemy, claiming that the selling of the game in the Middle East may promote the stereotype that the US troops are the enemies and prisoners the heroes. T Enterprise announced the cancellation of Rendition Guantanamo on June 3, 2009 after further alleged hate mail and media articles accusing the game of promoting propaganda or recruiting for terrorism. At cancellation, development was only about 25% complete, leaving a 1-minute teaser trailer as the sole surviving media. In 2003, American country music band Dixie Chicks, now known as the Chicks, strongly opposed the invasion of Iraq, leading vocalist Natalie Maines to hold a public hearing in London. The band was ridiculed by country music fans, leading to a drop in sales and sponsorship, new interest and respect from the non-country music fans in the left wing, and a short-lived humorous rivalry with Toby Keith. The record label forced Maines to make a public statement apologizing for her comments against Bush, but it was considered too late. Many fans responded to her statement with vitriolic hate mail, including a graphic death threat with specific details about the method, location, date, and weapon. Maines has never allowed the letter to leak or shown into the press, and no copies of the letter have surfaced online. The only other released content known to be from the letter is a few words contained in the lyrics to their 2006 hit, Not Ready to Make Nice. In the same year, a documentary about the controversy was titled after that quote as well, Shut Up and Sing. Heartbeat in the Brain is a 1970 documentary film about Amanda Felding's self-trepanation operation, a British scientist, artist, and drug policy reformer known for her research into conscientiousness and psychoactive drugs. Felding, who conducts her research through her non-profit organization, the Beckley Foundation, is an expert in trepanation, an ancient pseudo-medical procedure that involves cutting a small hole in the skull to alleviate various ailments or achieve a higher state of consciousness. The film was first known in 1978 at the Sue-Dime Gallery in New York, and was initially thought to be lost due to its few screenings. However, it was screened again in 2011 at the Institute of Contemporary Arts in London. The entire film has never surfaced online, but snippets can be found in Elie Cabillo's 1998 documentary, A Hole in the Head. In 2021, new clips of the film appeared in Hamilton's Pharmacopoeia Season 3. On August 19, 2010, during a concert by the Swell Season at the Mountain Winery in Saratoga, California, 32-year-old Michael Edward Pickles climbed onto a rooftop above the stage and jumped to his death just feet from singer Glenn Hasner. Despite CPR efforts by paramedics in attendance, he was pronounced dead at the scene. Pickles had recently been released on bail after threatening to kill himself and his girlfriend earlier that year. While there is footage of the concert before and after the suicide, there is no known footage of the actual suicide that has been released despite the nearly 2,000 concert goers who had attended. YouTube user Kitan has confirmed that they own footage of the suicide, but they have chosen not to let anyone apart from the police and the band themselves see it out of respect. Siegfried and Roy were a famous German-American magician duo known on performing with white tigers and lions. On October 3rd, 2003, during a show at the Mirage in Las Vegas, a white tiger suddenly attacked Roy Horn, biting his neck and dragging him off stage. He survived but suffered lasting impairments to his motor and verbal abilities. Unbeknownst to the public, the Mirage has recorded the attack entirely. However, the Mirage has refused to release the footage due to the public out of both respect for Roy's privacy and fear that the media would sensationalize the footage, while documentaries such as Anatomy of a Tiger Bite and ABC's 2020 Siegfried and Roy have recreated or simulated the event. The original footage remains unreleased, and it is considered permanently withheld from the public. SpongeBob SquarePants is a long-running American animated series that has been going on since the late 90s. In 2010, an unauthorized second Arabic dub titled was produced by the Childhood Voice Institute, owned by Al Mahed TV Network. This version removed most music, replacing it with nasheeds and sound effects due to conservative religious views against music. The dub is illegal, with evidence suggesting episodes were ripped from Spanish DVDs, as Bob Esponja appeared in the credits. Only 7 episodes of this dub have been recovered so far, though clips continue to resurface on YouTube. A YouTuber who began with the channel Pioneer Productions in 2008 later shifted focus to animation and created the Ember Ghost Squad channel, where he became fixated on Danny Phantom character Ember McLean. While working nights at a Weis grocery store, he carried out a mass shooting on June 8, 2017, killing 3 co-workers before taking his own life. Before the attack, Stair posted MediaFire links on Twitter containing his journals, suicide tapes, and a digital set of his work. Although MediaFire suspended his account shortly after, some files were re-uploaded or recovered. His journal surfaced on June 14, 2017, and the full digital set was uploaded to archive.org on June 26, 2017. The Columbine High School shooting on April 20th, 1999, carried out by students Eric Harris and Dylan Klebold, left 15 people dead. But before the massacre, Harris was an avid Doom 2 player and creator of custom WAD levels, most of which are now lost after his AOL page was deleted. Only 7 of his roughly 20 WADs survive today. Rumors persist that Harris designed a Doom 2 level based on Columbine High School itself, allegedly used by him and Klebold to practice the attack. Witness testimony mentioned this possibility, and some have speculated that the lost WADs like RealDoom.wad or UACLabs.wad might have contained such a map, though both are dated to 1996, before the pair began plotting the shooting, making this unlikely. Another candidate is Tier.wad, a 1998 level pack Harris developed with Klebold. Harris described it a highly symbolic and personal, while Klebold's hand-drawn map for the project vaguely resembled the CHS library, where most victims were killed. Notes from the two also listed several other unknown WAD titles. Despite speculation, no concrete evidence has ever surfaced proving that a Columbine-based map existed. Tier.wad and other lost levels remain also unavailable. In June 2015, the YouTube channel Obscure Horror Corner uploaded a 5-part walkthrough of a mysterious game called Sad Satan. The game itself consisted of walking down monochrome hallways while disturbing audio samples played in the background. Intermittent disturbing images also appeared, including photos of child abusers, murderers, political figures, and occult-related imagery. The uploader, Jamie, claimed he found the game on the deep web through an anonymous subscriber named ZK. He later said strange notepad files with satanic references appeared on his computer after playing it. The videos quickly gained attention, and Kotaku interviewed both Jamie and ZK. Soon after, rumors spread that the other versions of Sad Satan contained gore and child pornography. Jamie denied this, insisting that the version he played had no such material. Interest grew, and a clone version of Sad Satan appeared on 4chan, allegedly uploaded by ZK himself. This version did contain malware, gore, and the said mentioned child exploitation imagery that would shake anyone to their core. The contradictions between Jamie's statements, the fake onion links he provided, and the appearance of the malicious clone fueled theories that either Jamie was lying for publicity, ZK created the dangerous version independently, or both were connected. Eventually, the mystery unraveled. ZK was linked to a YouTube user named Scare Burr, whose real identity was Gary Graves, a man from Texas that was later arrested in 2017 for possession of child pornography. Evidence suggested that Graves, ZK, created the clone version of the game, and many suspect he was connected to Jamie or Obscure Horror Corner as well. After the controversy, Jamie stopped uploading videos. On his 77th birthday in July 2014, Bill Cosby recorded a Netflix stand-up special titled Bill Cosby 77. It was set for release the day after Thanksgiving that year, but after comedian Hannibal Buress's October 2014 routine resurfaced Cosby's sexual assault allegations, Netflix delayed the release. The special was later cancelled and has never been made available. The hour-long special focused on stories about his childhood, early loves, and parenthood, but no footage or trailers have surfaced. Only a Netflix placeholder thumbnail remains, with Netflix officially cancelling the special, with Chief Content Officer Ted Sarandos stating it was not appropriate to release. The plane ride from hell refers to a May 5th, 2002 WWE flight where several wrestlers caused chaos after heavy drinking during a delay. Incidents including Brock Lesnar and Kurt Hennig wrestling dangerously close to an emergency door, Goldust serenading his ex-wife, Ric Flair harassing flight attendants, and Michael Hayes having his hair cut while asleep after a fight. Former wrestler Just Incredible later claimed paparazzi took photos of wrestlers and WWE officials going through customs at JFK Airport, including images of Scott Hall being wheeled through in unresponsive state. He suggested more photos existed but gave no details. To this day, the alleged photos have never resurfaced and their whereabouts remain unknown. Saved from the Titanic was the first film made about the Titanic disaster, released just 29 days after the sinking on May 14, 1912. It starred survivor Dorothy Gibson, who co-wrote the script and even wore the same clothes she had during the tragedy. The 10-minute film combines her retelling with footage of the RMS Olympic and stock iceberg footage, and it was filmed in less than a week. Though successful, it drew criticism for commercializing the tragedy so soon. It may also have featured an early use of the Kinemacolor process, making it one of the first narrative films in color. The film became Gibson's last acting role, as reliving the experience reportedly contributed to her later breakdown. Tragically, all known prints were destroyed in a 1914 fire at Eclair Studios. Today, only a few still photographs survive. Megan Once a Millionaire was a VH1 reality show that aired from August 2 to 16 in 2009, where 17 millionaire men competed for the love of Megan Hauserman, with the winner ostensibly becoming her trophy husband. The show faced controversy and low ratings due to its premise. The series was abruptly halted after contestant Ryan Jenkins murdered his wife, Jasmine Fiore, on August 15, 2009. VH1 put the show on indefinite hiatus on August 19 and officially canceled it on August 22. Jenkins later died by suicide. Only 3 of the 6 episodes had aired before the scandal. Episodes 4 and 5 were later uploaded online by Megan Hauserman in 2020, but the final 6th episode remains lost. The Butcher is a purported live-action puppet short film from the early 2000s, allegedly featuring puppets made from real animal bones. The film gained attention after a Reddit user, DeadUser2000, described it on r/tip of my tongue, claiming it aired on Nickelodeon between 2001 and 2004. The short was said to be black and white, silent except for ambient sounds, and extremely dark, depicting animal puppets being chopped and fused into grotesque forms. Despite the claims, no production evidence has been found. The National Film Board of Canada partnered with Viacom at the time. It could locate no records. Many believe the film may be a hoax, or a false memory, or confused with other works like Odokuro, Courage the Cowardly Dog, or Simon Pommel's Butcher's Hook. Bullseye is a darts-based game show that aired on ITV from 1981 to 1995, featuring pairs of contestants who answered questions and played darts for prizes. An episode from 1989 became notorious because it featured serial killer John Cooper, who was later dubbed the Bullseye Killer, before appearing on the show. Cooper had already committed 2 murders in December 1985, killing siblings Richard and Helen Thomas at Scoveston Manor. Initially, police thought it might be a murder-suicide, but evidence pointed to Cooper as the murderer. Cooper appeared on Bullseye on May 28, 1989, without revealing his dark past. He talked about his scuba diving hobby and participated in dart games, but ended up posting the lowest score and walking away without prizes. A month later, he killed another couple, Peter and Gwenda Dixon, during a robbery along a coastal path. After ambushing them with a sawn-off shotgun, he murdered them after stealing money. Cooper continued his criminal activities into the 1990s, eventually being jailed for other crimes in 1998. He was released in 2008, but arrested in 2009 based on forensic evidence linking him to the murders of the Thomases and the Dixon. His appearance on Bullseye proved crucial in the investigation. In 2009, police retrieved footage of the show that showed his knowledge of the area and resemblance to a sketch of a suspect. This evidence led to his conviction in 2011 for both murders, and he received a life sentence. While the Bullseye episode featuring Cooper remains archived, it hasn't been re-aired since his conviction due to its sinister content. On December 3, 2012, Lost Prophets lead singer Ian Watkins tweeted about filming a music video for their single, Some Days. With only Watkins and guitarist Lee Gaze present, other band members appeared via archive footage. 2 weeks later, Watkins was arrested for multiple child sex offenses. Lost Prophets disbanded in October 2013, and in November, Watkins pleaded guilty to 13 charges, receiving a 29-year prison sentence. Former members formed a new band, No Devotion, and have distanced themselves from Lost Prophets, making the music video unlikely to ever be released. On May 23, 1999, wrestler Owen Hart died during WWF Over the Edge when a stunt harness malfunctioned, causing him to fall 24 meters chest first onto the ring rope. He was performing as the Blue Blazer, a persona, and was supposed to fall safely for comedic effect. Hart suffered fatal blunt force trauma and died at the hospital. The fall occurred during a pre-recorded backstage segment, so live viewers did not see it. Though ring announcers explained the situation, the event resumed after 15 minutes and Hart's death was officially announced about an hour later. Footage of the accident exists in the WWE archives but is restricted from viewing, copying, or destruction. Bootleg recordings of the event circulated prior to the WWE Network, which now streams the pay-per-view with edits, removing the fall's aftermath and the death announcement. On October 5th, 1999, during a WWF SmackDown taping, Darren Drozdov was paralyzed after D'Lo Brown botched a powerbomb finishing move, causing both wrestlers' combined weight 548 pounds to land on Droz's head and fractured 2 neck vertebrae. He underwent successful surgery but became a permanent quadriplegic. Droz and Brown reconciled shortly after, and Droz maintained a positive outlook, embracing life despite his wheelchair. He passed away on June 30th, 2023 at age 54. Although the match was fully taped, WWE has withheld the footage from release, editing around it for SmackDown airing. A few seconds of Droz being stretchered were later used in WWE public service announcements, but the full tape is stored in the WWE archive under strict instructions never to view, copy, or destroy. On July 21st, 1991, during the 5th round of the British F3000 series on Alton Park, 22-year-old Paul Warwick suffered a fatal car crash after the right front wishbone of his Renner 90D failed at the Knickerbrook corner. Warwick was ejected from the car on impact with the Armco barrier and died despite being airlifted to the hospital. He has been dominating the season, winning the first 4 races and setting fastest laps, and was on course for another victory. The race was immediately cancelled, but Warwick was posthumously declared the winner and secured enough points to win the championship, making him one of the only 2 posthumous posthumous motorsport champions alongside Joke and Rid. Investigations revealed that the car's tub had been previously damaged, contributing to the suspension failure. Warwick's accident, along with another fatal crash at Oulton Park that year, led to safety changes at the circuit, including a chicane in Knickerbrook. No television footage exists of the crash. Joy Junction was a 1980s Christian-themed children's game and variety show set in the fictional village of Joy Junction. Hosted by Sheriff Dawn, the show featured town residents such as Mrs. Peterson, Professor Claude Hooper, and many more puppets. Episodes combine challenging games for children with Bible lessons, solo musical performances, and short segments with Ron and Marty. Originally airing on the Christian Television Network in the mid-1980s, the show was later syndicated on the children's blocks like Kids Block from 1993 to 2005 and Smile. This cast included Don McAllister as Sheriff Don, Ronald Brown as Ron and Marty, and other actors giving their talent. But in 2013, Ronald Brown, the puppeteer behind Marty, was charged with child pornography offenses and implicated in disturbing online discussions about harming children. He had previously avoided legal consequences in 1998 after police found children's underwear in his car, which he claimed was for his puppets. Brown died in prison around August 2020 from motor neuron disease. Due to the scandal involving Brown, many original tapes of Joy Junction were likely destroyed, with only a few episodes surviving, with numerous clips available on YouTube. Michael Schumacher is a retired German Formula 1 driver for Ferrari and Mercedes. He shares a joint record 7 World Drivers' Championship titles with Lewis Hamilton. At the time of his retirement in 2012, Schumacher held records for the most wins, pole positions, and podium finishes, and he still holds records for the most fastest laps and the most wins in a single season. On December 29, 2013, Schumacher suffered a severe head injury while skiing off-piste in the French Alps with his son Mick. Despite wearing a helmet, he struck a rock and sustained traumatic brain injury, requiring airlift to Grenoble Hospital and 2 surgeries. He was placed in a medically induced coma to aid his recovery. His condition was life-threatening and his helmet likely prevented a fatal outcome. In 2016, it was reported that secret photos of Schumacher paralyzed in his bed had been taken by an unknown individual and offered to media outlets for $1 million. German prosecutors confirmed the photos existed, but denounced the attempt to sell them as a violation of Schumacher's privacy. Due to the investigation and respect for his family, it is extremely unlikely that the images will ever be released to the public. In 2017, Kevin Spacey was cast to star in Gore, a Netflix biopic about American writer Gore Vidal, known for his novel Myra Breckinridge. The film was set to be shot in Vidal's villa in Ravello, Italy, and directed by Michael Hoffman. It would have been the first feature film on Vidal's life, following multiple documentaries. Production wrapped in 2017, but the film was never released. The project was ultimately cancelled following sexual misconduct allegations against Spacey. Actor Anthony Rapp revealed that Spacey had made unwanted advances toward him when he was 14, which prompted other men to come forward with similar claims, some involving minors. Netflix severed ties with Spacey and cancelled all projects he was involved in, including House of Cards and Gore, complicating the film's release. Vidal himself that alleged inappropriate behavior towards minors, creating uncomfortable parallels between the actor and the role he was portraying. A leaked script revealed scenes portraying Vidal allegedly attempting to seduce a young fan and other sexually explicit situations. Despite no footage being publicly available, a few photos exist online. Netflix reportedly lost $39 million after canceling the film, and with no distributor, it remains unlikely to be released. In 2012, John Kricfalusi, creator of Ren and Stimpy Show, launched a Kickstarter campaign for a short film called Cans Without Labels. The campaign promised rewards such as t-shirts, digital desktop toys, DVDs, and other items to backers. Production ran into major issues lasting 7 years, and the film was finally released in 2019. Its reception was negative due to low-quality animation and the revelation of sexual abuse allegations against Kricfalusi in 2018, effectively ending his animation career. Many Kickstarter rewards were never delivered. $1 backers were promised a copy of the short film, $10 and $20 backers were promised downloadable digital desktop toys, and $50 backers were to receive a DVD including an animatic for Ren and Stimpy short that was never completed. Most digital rewards such as the desktop toys are presumed lost, with only a few images, GIFs, or videos surviving. The last update from Kricfalusi about the project was on May 27, 2019, and no further communication regarding backer rewards has been made since. On October 7, 2016, audio of Donald Trump making making lewd comments with Access Hollywood host Billy Bush in 2005 was leaked. Shortly before the US presidential elections, following the leak, claims surfaced that Trump had made additional offensive remarks and outtakes from The Apprentice. The reality show that he hosted from 2004 to 2015, producers and public figures including Bill Pruitt, Chris Nee, and Tom Arnold alleged that the footage existed showing Trump using racial slurs and other offensive language. Though they did not release any of it publicly despite these claims, no outtake footage has been publicly released. The show's producer, Mark Burnett, has threatened legal action against anyone attempting to share it. Legal proceedings in subsequent years required MGM, the owner of The Apprentice, to review unaired episodes as part of lawsuits involving the Trump family. Judges ordered screenings for legal teams, but the content of these outtakes has not been disclosed to the public. As of now, the alleged outtakes remain unseen by the public, with only claims and descriptions circulating through media reports and legal filings. Breakfast Pete was a Dutch Sinterklaas themed educational live action series produced by Endemol and aired on Nickelodeon in the Netherlands. The show ran for 2 seasons from late November to early December in 2007-2008 and centered on the characters of Sinterklaas and his assistants, the Pieten, who are traditionally portrayed in blackface. The series aimed to teach children the importance of eating a healthy breakfast. The cast included Ryan Hoffman as the titular character. 2 music videos by DJ Nicky were produced alongside the show, one featuring Zwart Piet and one edited for wider release without the character. Despite 28 episodes being produced, none have resurfaced and the show is considered lost. The blackface portrayal of the Pieten has become highly controversial internationally, and it appears that both the series and related media are being quietly removed from public access. In mid-2003, Kelsey Grammer's IMDb page briefly listed 2 adult films, Hotel Hooker and Filmed Female, both with unknown release dates. These credits no longer appear on IMDb, though Filmed Female is visible in archive versions of Grammer's page from 2003. Speculation arose that these titles may have referred to leaked sex tapes involving Grammer. In 1998, he sued the distributor Internet Entertainment Group for distributing an unauthorized tape, and a 1999 People article hinted he might have directed an X-rated home video, possibly co-starring a woman identified as Filmed Female. The existence of either film as officially produced works is highly doubtful. It is more likely that IMDb users created placeholder entries referencing rumored tapes. No known copies of any such videos exist today, and searches on the internet and adult sites turn up nothing. Amy Lynn Bradley, a 23-year-old American, went missing on March 24, 1998 during a family cruise on Royal Caribbean's Rhapsody of the Seas in the Caribbean. The last confirmed sighting was early that morning on the family suite balcony. Despite immediate alerts to the crew and subsequent searches by the ship, Dutch Caribbean Coast Guard, and FBI, she was never found. Her strong swimming skills and athletic background led authorities to quickly rule out accidental drowning. One prominent theory suggests that Amy was kidnapped and sold into sex trafficking. Supporting this theory are alleged sightings over the years, including in Curaçao, Barbados, and brothels in the Caribbean. After noting her distinctive tattoos and claims that she was held against her will, a significant factor fueling the theory is that Amy's cruise photographs taken the night before her disappearance went missing, while all other passengers' photos were accounted for. Some observers have speculated that the crew may have been complicit, citing unusual attention from staff and reluctance to restrict passenger movement after her disappearance. No additional footage of Amy had resurfaced beyond the public video of her dancing on the cruise. The missing photos remain unaccounted for and may have been lost or taken by traffickers. She was legally declared dead on March 24, 2010, and the case remains cold. Allegedly sexual explicit videos circulated in 2005 fueled further speculation, but no confirmed evidence of her whereabouts has ever emerged. On July 26, 1938, 28-year-old John William Ward, a former bank clerk struggling with bipolar disorder, committed suicide by jumping from the 17th floor of the New York's Gotham Hotel. Earlier that day, Ward had placed himself on a hotel ledge, refusing to return inside despite pleas from relatives and emergency workers. Ward had a history of severe depression and a previous suicide attempt in 1937, and he feared being sent back to the psychiatric center during the standoff. The incident attracted a large crowd and extensive media attention, including live coverage by NBC. During the 11-hour standoff, police and psychiatrist Jock C. Presner attempted to calm Ward. Patrolman Charles V. Glasgow engaged him in conversation, offering water laced with a drug in order for him to improve his mood. Ward seemed to respond positively, beginning to re-enter the hotel at one point, but was agitated by a photographer entering the room and by the construction of a safety net below. Despite these interventions, Ward ultimately declared there was no way out and stepped off the ledge, crashing through the hotel marquee and landing on the sidewalk in front of an estimated 10,000 witnesses. The event inspired the 1951 20th Century Fox film 14 Hours and was extensively documented in newsreels and photographs. While some Universal newsreel footage has resurfaced showing Ward's fall and its aftermath, the NBC television coverage is believed lost because live broadcasts were not routinely recorded at the time. A single photograph capturing the NBC coverage was preserved and published in the October 1938 issue of Radiocraft. On June 10th, 2017, the Grand Tour presenter Richard Hammond crashed his Rimac Concept 1 during a hill climb event in St. Gallen, Switzerland. After losing control on a right-hand turn, the car veered off the track, broke through a barrier, and rolled approximately 500 feet down a hill before landing inverted and catching on fire. Hammond escaped before the car ignited but suffered a fractured knee. While publicly available footage shows the crash and aftermath, onboard camera footage of the incident has never been released. The accident occurred during a segment comparing supercars from the past, present, and future, with Hammond driving the Rimac Concept 1. After completing 4 timed laps, he approached the final stretch at seemingly high speeds. The car oversteered on a turn and Hammond's corrective steering caused it to swerve uncontrollably. Experts later suggested that Hammond may have been driving too fast. Abrupt steering could have interfered with the car's vectoring system. Though Hammond has not admitted to overspeeding, he was airlifted to the hospital and returned to driving on August 12, 2017. Although several cameras, including onboard footage, were recording during the crash, the recordings were reportedly destroyed in the fire. Some pre-crash footage and audio were recovered and included in the episode 1 of series 2 of the Grand Tour. The full onboard footage has never surfaced publicly, and it remains unclear whether it was permanently lost or withheld from release. God is Being Raped Uncensored is the uncensored version of the music video Gone is Being Raped by experimental rap artist John Escus. Released on December 25th, 2021, the video is highly disturbing, featuring themes of rape, murder, gore, and explicit pornography. Along with intense flashing imagery, some Reddit users suggested that there may have been graphic scenes, though these are unconfirmed. The VHS of uncensored video was briefly available for purchase on Janiscus Big Cartel page and at New York shows in late 2021 and 2022, priced at $50. The Big Cartel page now redirects to the main homepage, and the tape is not archived on the Wayback Machine. No footage or images from the uncensored video were provided on the original sales page. The VHS is now extremely rare, having sold out quickly. No listings have appeared on platforms like eBay. Reddit users claim ownership of the tape, with some offering it for $2,000. Currently, there are only 2 surviving pictures of the VHS, one still image and one video showing the box art, making it a highly obscure and sought after item. Otto Treen is a woolly dinosaur character created for Estonian TV station by Venno Lusar and Hendrik Masick. With Lusar portraying the mascot debuting in the 1990s, Otto Treen became extremely popular among kids, appearing at live events, on dairy products, cassettes, chocolate branding, and even a bedtime radio show. Despite this success, the original TV series is largely lost, likely due to TV3 being a private channel without proper archives and no VHS releases are known. Controversy surrounding this show may have contributed to its disappearance, as in 1997 producer Tono Pavo was involved in a fatal car accident, leading to a highly publicized trial in 98, which may have prompted TV3 to quietly discontinue the series. Later, Venno Lusar faced multiple controversies of his own. After Otto Treen, he created another children's show, Jali Si Jape, which survives online. In 2019, Lusar was accused of sexually abusing a 10-year-old and even possessing child pornography, leading to a conviction in 2021 with a 5-year sentence. The surviving material from Otto Treen is extremely limited. Clips were briefly aired during TV3's 20th anniversary celebration in 2016, including one high-quality full-length episode that was later removed. As of 2022, only 2 short clips and 2 recipes from the show remain publicly available. Swim with Rolf was a 4-part educational series broadcast on BBC One from April to May 1971, presented by Rolf Harris. Designed as part of the UK's Teach Them to Swim campaign, the show aimed to teach children basic swimming skills, including floating, breathing techniques, various strokes, and diving, while also promoting water confidence and safety. Each 25-minute episode progressively covered these skills with demonstrations at the London National Sports Centre. The series was repeated in 1972 and 73, but was never aired again. The program was produced by Michael Grafton Robinson and directed by Douglas Heath. Harris, a former competitive swimmer, often drew on personal experiences, emphasizing the importance of learning to swim from a young age to prevent accidents. The show reinforced his status as a prominent television personality and national figure in both the UK and Australia at the time. Harris continued producing educational material on swimming, including the 1982 film Rolf Harris Water Safety. However, Harris's legacy was permanently tarnished when it emerged that he had committed widespread sexual abuse of young girls, or being arrested in 2013 as part of Operation U-Tree. He was convicted of 12 counts of sexual assault and sentenced to 5 years and 9 months in prison. Although he was released on license in 2017 and one count was overturned, the majority of his convictions remained until his death in 2023. Overshadowing his career and prior reputation as a national treasure, the Swim with Rolf episodes are now considered lost. The BBC's tape wiping policy, which reused tapes to save costs, led to the erasure of the original recordings. No copies, images, or recordings of the show have resurfaced since, making it a piece of lost media. Pekka Erik Ovanen was a Finnish YouTuber who expressed extreme political views and fascination with past tragedies, including the Tokyo subway sarin attack, Columbine, and the Waco siege. He used multiple channels like Natural Selector 89 and Sturmgeist 89 to post videos supporting violent acts, discussing politics, religion, and history, and showcasing his firearms. His content, much of which has since been removed, is now largely considered lost media. Born on June 4th, 1989, Erik grew up in Helsinki and later Jokela, Finland. A shy but academically inclined student, he faced bullying at school, which, combined with mental health struggles such as panic disorder, contributed to his growing social isolation. Initially a far-left supporter, he eventually adopted the far-right and neo-Nazi ideologies, openly admitting that he admired Adolf Hitler and threatening classmates online. On November 7, 2007, Erik carried out the Jokela school shooting. Arriving at the school during lunch, he killed 8 people including students, staff, and the headmistress, and injured 13 others before committing suicide in a laboratory after exchanging gunfire with the police. The attack was the deadliest school shooting in Finland at the time, prompting national grief, international condolences, and scrutiny of Finland's gun laws. In the aftermath, Erik's YouTube channels were deleted, removing most of his videos from public view. Some content has been partially recovered or archived online. His manifesto and other documents are still accessible in archival websites. All the Way Live with EDP445 and The Field with EDP445 were 2015 web series on Tyler the Creator's Golf Media app, starring EDP, aka Brian. All the Way Live parodied Philadelphia Eagles sports shows, while In the Field followed him visiting various locations and humorously interacting with the locals. The only surviving content is a re-upload Dallas Cowboys segment, a screenshot, and a promotional tweet by Tyler the Creator. EDP445 was a popular YouTuber with over 2 million subscribers, but after EDP445 faced multiple accusations of sending explicit material to minors, in April 2021 an undercover expose caught him attempting to meet a 13-year-old, resulting in YouTube terminating his channel and removing much of his content, including any golf media material. Due to the platform's closure and EDP445's controversy, the remaining episodes of both shows are considered lost media. In 1985, Bradford City hosted Lincoln City at Valley Parade Stadium for the final match of the 3rd Division season. Bradford had just won the division and the game was meant to celebrate the promotion. The match itself was uneventful, scoreless at 0-0 after 40 minutes and overshadowed by poor pitch conditions and little competitive significance. But tragedy struck in the 40th minute when a fire broke out in Block G, reportedly started by a lit cigarette falling onto debris beneath the stands. Fueled by wind and flammable material, the fire spread rapidly, engulfing the stand within minutes. Despite many fans escaping, 56 spectators were killed and 256 were injured, including from falling debris. Some police officers and supporters were credited with heroic efforts to save lives. The match was abandoned and the Football League later recorded it as a 0-0 draw, awarding each team 1 point. Bradford and Lincoln would not meet again in league play until 2007, with Bradford winning both encounters. The game has been recorded by Yorkshire Television, but footage of the match itself is mostly lost. Clips of the fire were initially restricted and used for training purposes. Some footage appeared on broadcast and has since resurfaced online, though much remains inaccessible. Close Range is a 2009 satirical flash game created by The Onion that parodied violent first-person shooters like Call of Duty. Players control a man named AJ, tasked with shooting hundreds of thousands of people's faces to rescue his kidnapped brother. The gameplay featured a simple pistol, with the option to target specific body parts, and included a supposed multiplayer mode and hidden side missions, such as shooting animals. Though a playable demo existed on The Onion's website via a SWF file, it was never fully released. The demo is no longer accessible as the SWF was never archived and no copies of the game are known to exist. The status of the Onion's original file is also unknown. Jen was a YouTuber who began uploading videos in 2012, sharing vlogs, self-improvement content, and controversial guilt admission videos. Some of her most notorious uploads included admitting to euthanizing her pet rabbits for personal convenience, advocating incest between consenting adults, and downplaying the severity of rape, and most infamously promoting pedophilia by claiming that children are just as sexually curious as adults. Her content gained widespread attention in 2017 after Blair White posted "Pedophile YouTuber Exposed," which garnered over 900,000 views. Other YouTubers including Repsion and Ready to Glare also responded to her controversial videos, amplifying criticism and public scrutiny. Following the backlash, Jen's pedophilia video was removed and she eventually deleted all of her YouTube videos and other social media accounts, leaving only her Tumblr active. A few of her videos were recovered via Lost Media Wiki, but were later removed due to copyright claims by Jen herself. The 120 Days of Sodom is a 1785 novel by Marquis de Sade, written secretly while he was imprisoned in the Bastille, composed on a 12-meter long scroll of glued together scraps of paper. De Sade hid it in his cell wall. He believed it lost when he was transferred to another prison just before the Bastille was stormed in 1789, but the manuscript was secretly taken by a citizen, later resurfaced in the hands of a sexologist, Ewan Block, it in 1904 under the pseudonym Eugene Duran. The novel is infamous for its extreme, disturbing, and sadistic sexual content, particularly the exploitation of children, and has been banned in multiple countries, even creating the most infamous and disturbing film with the same name. Kiniku Banzeku, also known as Muscle Ranking, was a Japanese game show aired on TBS from October 95 to May 2002, featuring contestants completing physical demanding obstacle courses to earn the title of Bansuke. On May 5th, 2002, during the filming of new episodes called Power Island, the two contestants suffered serious cervical spine injuries, one potentially resulting in paralysis, causing the episode to be cancelled and the show to be permanently discontinued. The Power Island course included two main obstacles: Rock Attack, where contestants had to catch and push a 47-kilogram ball up a slope, and Rock Valley, where they walked across the ball over a 2.5-meter wide waterway. Despite the first contestant, Wei Tao, injuring his neck but remaining conscious, TBS continued filming, leading to Takanori Isa's accident, which was more severe. Following the accident, TBS suspended the show for safety evaluation and faced police inquiries into potential negligence. Although the show had been popular, it was ultimately cancelled and replaced by Taiki Okuoku 5 months later. The Power Island episode was never broadcast, and footage of the 35 participants attempting the course remains unavailable. On the 26th of June 2017, YouTuber Pedro Ruiz III and his girlfriend Mona Lisa Perez attempted a dangerous stunt for their new channel, Damn It Boy. In Minnesota, the stunt involved Perez firing a .50 caliber Desert Eagle at Ruiz while he held a 1.5-inch hardcover encyclopedia to his chest. Despite expressing serious concerns and reluctance, Perez ultimately carried out the stunt, which tragically resulted in Ruiz being fatally shot in the chest. He died at the scene at age 22. Ruiz and Perez had a history of creating content for their main channel, La Mona Lisa, but Ruiz pushed for increasingly risky stunts for the new channel. Perez had initially refused the shooting stunt for over a month and remained hesitant on the day of the incident, especially given her pregnancy and proximity to Ruiz. Ruiz reassured her, insisting that the book would protect him and pressuring her to proceed. About 30 people, including the couple's young daughter, witnessed the incident. After the fatal shooting, Perez faced legal consequences, pleading guilty to second-degree manslaughter on the 15th of December 2017. She was sentenced to 180 days in jail, 10 years of supervised probation, banned from owning firearms, and prohibited from profiting from the case. While a 16.5-minute prelude video explaining the stunt has been released, footage of the shooting itself was recovered by authorities but withheld from the public due to its graphic nature. In September 1993, Nicola Lubsden, a teenager celebrating her 19th birthday at a pub called the Redskins in Newcastle upon Tyne, England, was accidentally shot in the head by bouncer Mark Steele. Steele had been arguing with someone outside the pub and fired a warning shot that struck Nicola. Nicola was placed on life support and her family was warned that she might not survive. She eventually pulled through and made a partial recovery, though the bullet remained lodged in her skull due to the risk of removal. On the 21st of February 1994, Mark Steele was sentenced to 8 years in prison for the shooting. He later became known as a conspiracy theorist, primarily involved in the anti-5G movement, and posts mentioning the shooting were reportedly deleted on online groups he participated in. The incident was featured in a BBC 1992 documentary series Close Up North in an episode titled Nicola's Bullet, which aired on 13th of October 1994. Great Temptation was an Australian game show that aired on the 10 network from 1970 to 1975, serving as an early precursor to the Australian version of Sale of the Century, hosted by Tony Barber in his first TV hosting role. The show followed a similar format to Sale of the Century. One episode of Great Temptation was never completed or aired due to a tragic incident. During filming, a contestant named Valerie collapsed after winning the game. Despite immediate medical attention, she was pronounced dead and the taping was halted. Details about her cause of death and her winnings remain unknown. The episode's fate is likely permanent, as it was recorded during a time when the network commonly reused tapes. Consequently, it is extremely unlikely that this lost episode will ever be found or made publicly available. Shawty Lo was an Atlanta-based rapper who founded the hip-hop group D4L around 2003, achieving national fame with their hit single Laffy Taffy, which reached the top of the Billboard Top 100 and was certified triple platinum. He left the group in 2008 to pursue a solo career. In 2013, Shawty Lo began production on a reality TV series called All My Baby's Mamas, set to air on Oxygen. The show focused on his life as a father of 11 children with 10 different women. Before it premiered, the series faced widespread criticism for its portrayal of black families, glamorization of premarital sex, and promotion of unsafe stereotypes. A petition led by author Sabrina Lamb and media coverage including from Fox News fueled protests and boycotts. Due to the backlash, Oxygen canceled the show in January 2013 before any episodes aired. Shawty Lo later died in a car accident on September 21st, 2016, further reducing the likelihood of the show ever surfacing. As of October 2023, no full episodes are publicly available. The only existing footage comes from a Fox News report previewing the series and discussing the controversy surrounding it. On January 21st, 2000, MTV filmed a pilot for a show called Dude This Sucks, an inverted talent competition where acts could be disqualified mid-performance if judges deemed them bad. During one segment, teenage girls on stage were unknowingly placed in the path of performers called the Shower Rangers, who, having taken a powerful laxative, exposed themselves and sprayed the girls with feces as part of their act. The incident sparked outrage from the girls and their parents, leading to a lawsuit filed on April 5th, 2001, citing emotional distress, negligence, and battery. The plaintiffs describe extreme humiliation, noting that the peers and even teachers at school mocked them despite attempts to clean off the feces. MTV faced significant backlash over the stunt, with the network's president of programming, Brian Graydon, stating that the footage never aired and promising measures to prevent similar incidents in the future. As a result, no footage of the incident has ever been broadcast or made publicly available. The Mud Shark incident, also known as the Shark episode, is an alleged sex video reportedly filmed on July 28, 1969 at Seattle's Edgewater Inn, where Led Zeppelin and Vanilla Fudge were staying. The hotel allowed guests to fish directly from their rooms into Elliott Bay. Accounts on the incident vary, but it allegedly involved members of Vanilla Fudge, Led Zeppelin's road manager Richard Cole, and possibly some band members having their way with a groupie with a shark. According to Cole, the story was exaggerated. He claimed that instead of a shark, a red snapperfish's nose was involved in the sexual acts with a woman, and that nothing malicious or harmful occurred. He denied John Bonham's involvement. Mark Stein of Vanilla Fudge reportedly filmed the incident, and the footage was supposedly given to the band's road manager, Bruce Wayne. No verifiable copy of the video has surfaced, and its existence remains unconfirmed. The Filthy Five is Andy Milligan's most commercially successful sexploitation film, grossing $300,000 and receiving praise from Variety, The New York Times, and Andy Warhol. However, the film is now considered lost because Lou Mishkin, son of the distributor William Mishkin, melted the prints to recover silver and reduce storage costs, believing the film had no value after the decline of the sexploitation genre. The plot follows Johnny Longo, an ambitious but sadistic boxer, and Rose White, a prostitute who uses her connections to advance his career while remaining devoted to him, despite his cruel behavior. Meanwhile, former film star Rita Roman struggles with addiction, relying on her devoted companion Allison to arrange drug fixes that involve compromising situations. Rita seeks a comeback in a TV series alongside Johnny, but friction arises between them due to their strong personalities. Their rivalry escalates as both manipulate and seduce others around them, including affairs and secret plots. Kodomo no Jikan, also known as Nymphet, is a seinen manga by Kaori Watashiya about an elementary school teacher dealing with a student who has a crush on him. The series received a 12-episode anime in 2007, 4 OVAs in 2009, and a 5th in 2011. It has been heavily criticized internationally for its content considered bleak in nature. In 2006, 7 Seas Entertainment licensed the manga with plans to release it in December 2006, but the release was delayed. By May 2007, amid backlash over the controversial content, the company delayed and then ultimately canceled publication. 7 Seas president Jason DeAngelis cited later volumes were inappropriate for the US market, expressing disgust over explicit scenes involving the teacher and student. A small number of first volume copies were printed before cancellation, making them rare. Shortly before Walt Disney's 35th birthday, 2 unknown Disney animators allegedly created a short film depicting Mickey and Minnie Mouse having sex as a prank for a surprise birthday party. When shown, Disney reportedly pretended to laugh, praised the animation, then fired the animators and ordered all copies destroyed. It is unclear if any copies survived. The story's authenticity is debated, as it first appeared in Mark Elliott's 1994 biography Walt Disney, Hollywood's Dark Prince, which has faced criticism for factual inaccuracies. A similar anecdote comes from science fiction writer Harlan Ellison, who in 1979 claimed he joked about a pornographic Disney film on his first day at the studio. Unaware Roy Disney and producers were nearby, Ellison said he was fired immediately after lunch. Whether this is connected to Mickey and Minnie's story is entirely separate and probably remains unknown. In 1938, Max Fletcher reportedly commissioned a private, pornographic one-reel short featuring Popeye and Betty Boop as a thank you to animators who had relocated to his new Florida studio. The cartoon allegedly showed sexualized content, including Popeye eating spinach after intimate encounters with Betty. The short was reportedly shown only at a private party, then locked in a Fleischer studio safe and never publicly released. After Fleischer brothers were ousted from the studio in 1942, the film disappeared. Interest resurfaced in 2003 when a Jim Hill article brought attention to the alleged short, with some forum users claiming to have seen it on an adult animation tapes in the 1980s. Liam and Nikita, infamously known as the Academy Maniacs, were 2 teenage serial killers from Russia between November 2010 and April 2011. The pair carried out a string of brutal attacks in Irkutsk area, murdering 6 people and injuring 9 others. Their crimes, committed while they were still teenagers, shocked Russia with their brutality and the disturbing motivations behind them. Both of them were arrested on April 5, 2011. They were charged with murder, robbery, desecration of victims' bodies, and organizing extremist activities. Their trial lasted from August 2012 to February 2013, culminating on them receiving life sentences, later reduced to 20. While Artyom remains in prison, Nikita took his own life on October 30th, 2021. His death marked the grim end of one of half of the murderous duo. The case gained notoriety not only for its violence, but also because it was the first time a violent extremism happened in their area. Investigations revealed that the pair were heavily inspired by other notorious killers whose acts of violence had previously been sensationalized in media and online. Their fascination with such figures was openly displayed, with them even creating an online group titled Our President. Music and subcultural identity also played a role in shaping their pair's ideology. Before their crimes, they performed as a punk grindcore band such as Evil Dwarfs and Dismembered Pugacheva. Their lyrics, which glorified violence and obscenity, were directly inspired by other shock bands of that same nature. Through their band's online presence, they openly expressed support for the Blood Magic gang of criminal groups that have been sentenced in 2010. The teenagers even dedicated an album to the gang, proclaiming their intention to continue its work, not just musically, but in real life. Till this day, the album has not yet been found and is considered lost media. During the 2006-2015 Build Team era of Mythbusters, Adam Savage recounted at the 2016 Silicon Valley Comic-Con an unaired and reportedly destroyed experiment involving a commonly available material. Though to be explosive, the team tested the myth initially assuming it would be harmless, planning only to censor instructions if it worked. To their shock, the material proved extremely volatile, resulting in such a dangerous explosion that they destroyed all footage and agreed never to discuss it publicly. Adam claimed that the results were reported to DARPA, but no public record or footage of the experiment exists, and any remaining materials are kept private with strong precautions against release. In 1964, Werner Herzog produced a 14-minute black and white short called Game in the Sand, which was never released due to its reportedly graphic content. The film allegedly depicted 4 children and a rooster in a cardboard box, with the rooster at one point buried up to its neck in sand. Herzog has stated that only 3 of 4 people have ever seen the short and has considered destroying the negative before his death, claiming the shoot moved out of control. While details are scarce, it is assumed that events involving the rooster were disturbing enough to cross a line for Herzog. The only known credits are for music by Jamie Pachenko and cinematography by Uwe Brandner. Lucifer Rising is an experimental short film directed by Kenneth Anger with a troubled production history beginning in 1966 and the final release in 1980. The film, featuring Marianne Faithfull as Lilith and depicting the summoning of Lucifer himself, was heavily influenced by occultism and Aleister Crowley's philosophies. Production was originally tied to Bobby Buscemi, who Anger cast as Lucifer and who was also worked on a proposed soundtrack. Conflicts between Anger and Buscemi over creative control and funding led to Buscemi leaving in 1967 amid allegations that he stole and buried 1,600 feet of footage in the Californian desert. Though Buscemi later denied the footage ever existed, Buscemi subsequently became involved with the Manson family and was convicted of the murder of Gary Hinman, indirectly entwining the film's production with infamous criminal events. Anger, meanwhile, recreated the project in London, Germany, and Egypt, securing Jimmy Page to produce a new soundtrack. By 1973, the film was mostly complete with Page's music, but only limited showings occurred until Buscemi later composed a soundtrack while in prison, which Anger used to finalize the film's 1980 release. Several cuts of Lucifer Rising remain missing or were limited in circulation. Jeff the Killer is a notorious figure from the creepypasta community, instantly recognized by his pale, noseless face, dark eye rings, and eerie smile. His image became iconic in screamers and horror forums, solidifying his place as an internet urban legend. The picture's origins remain unknown. Early versions appeared on Japanese sites in 2005, later spreading into Western forums like 2channel, SpeedGuide.net, and Newgrounds, where it gained popularity under the user Killer Jeff by 2008. The image had been tied to the Jeff the Killer story, making it a staple of online horror, but speculation about the image's sources had led to multiple theories. Some suggest it came from Stickcam livestream captures, others from Japanese videos or 4chan Photoshop edits. A long-standing rumor claimed that it showed a girl named Katie Robinson who killed herself after online bullying, but this was later debunked. She was later identified as Heather White, who is still alive and unrelated to the creepypasta. In later years, dark speculation emerged that the picture might be tied to capping communities. Capping communities are groups that recorded live streams of unsuspecting minors and shared the footage online, sometimes involving exploitative material. While there is no concrete evidence connecting Jeff the Killer to those such said materials, the disturbing possibility has made researchers cautious about tracing the photo's true source too closely. I Have No Mouth and I Must Scream is a 1995 PC horror sci-fi adventure game developed by Cyber Dreams and Harlan Ellison, based on the short story. Set a century after humanity has been wiped out after a sentient, malevolent supercomputer called AM, the game follows 5 survivors, Gorster, Benny, Ellen, Ted, and Nimdok, who are forced to confront their traumas in virtual worlds. The game gained a reputation for being disturbing and psychologically intense. Evidence shown a 1995 episode of Games Master show that the game was originally even more graphic than its final release. Cutscenes reportedly including human bodies hanging in Gorster's meat locker, a sickly puppy he could heal with human hearts, Ellen being attacked by a bald figure in her Egyptian scenario, and Benny eating a baby. Certain inventory items and subplot hints, such as Benny's original depiction as a gay man and a secret lover named Private Brickman, were also removed from the final game. These deletions were likely made due to controversy concerns, pacing, or atmosphere itself, but no playable versions with these extended scenes has surfaced. Mir Shaivansha was a legendary Thai actor widely regarded as a superstar during Thailand's cinematic golden age. He starred in a huge portion of the country's films during his peak. In 1970, Mir produced and directed his final film, Insithong, which featured the return of his popular masked hero, Red Eagle. During the filming of the cinematic scene, Mir attempted a stunt involving climbing a rope ladder beneath a helicopter. Tragically, the helicopter flew too high, leaving him dangling hanging by the bottom rung, and he fell to his death instantly. His passing came just months after the death of pioneering Thai actor Ratana, marking a significant blow to the Thai film industry. The fatal fail was captured on camera, and the original 1970 theatrical release of In Si Thong reportedly included the footage. Though details of its presentation are unclear, when the film was released on DVD in 2005, the footage of his death was removed and replaced with shots of the helicopter and a text scroll commemorating his life. Through Hike, A Ghost Story was a 2002 independent horror film written and directed by Blaine Norris. The movie followed a group of hikers on the Appalachian Trail who are stalked by a ghostly murderer. A promotional website was created with plot details, cast information, behind-the-scenes photos, and news updates, noting that the filming had wrapped in September 2002 and was only awaiting distribution. However, no footage was ever resurfaced, and the archived website remains the only trace of the project. The film was never released due to Norris's involvement in a real-life crime, as in January 2003, he murdered Randy Trimble, the wife of his friend Brian Trimble, as part of a scheme to collect $100,000 in life insurance to pay off debts tied to the film. Both Norris and Trimble were sentenced to life in prison, leaving the film unfinished. Pierlucio Tanazzi was an Italian security guard and motorbike enthusiast who patrolled the Mont Blanc tunnel to ensure traffic safety. On March 24, 1999, during the catastrophic Mont Blanc tunnel fire, Tanazzi rode in the tunnel in an attempt to rescue people trapped on the French side. He ultimately died in a fire refuge while trying to save an unconscious French lorry driver, Maurice Lebras. Tanazzi had been in radio contact with the Italian control room for over an hour before his death. The fire started when a Volvo lorry carrying flammable cargo caught fire, and decisions by tunnel operators exacerbated the inferno, which claimed 39 lives. While some accounts initially credited Tanazzi with multiple rescues, official reports clarified that the successful saves on the Italian side were carried out by another security guard. Tanazzi's heroism was limited to dragging Lebras into a refuge and remaining with him until both perished, likely due to the heat, smoke, or oxygen deprivation. Although he did not save anyone, Tanazzi is widely known as a hero. No recordings of Tanazzi's radio communications with the Italian control room have been released. All related audio remains sealed by French courts due to the initial investigations, and it is unlikely to be made public out of respect for Tanazzi and his family. The Moment of Truth was a 2008 Fox game show where contestants answered personal and often embarrassing questions. Pre-screened via polygraph in front of a studio audience and family, contestants could win up to $500,000 by answering all questions truthfully. Melanie Williams was the show's first and only contestant to answer the final question truthfully and win the top prize. She grew up in an FLDS polygamous community and endured sexual abuse. On the show, she revealed disturbing truths about her family and community, including underage marriages, child endangerment, and her father's sexual abuse of minors. Her final question, confirming her father's sexual relations with minors, earned her $500,000 and created visible tension with her family. Williams later explained in a 2011 blog that her motivation was not money, but to expose abuses in a polygamous community and give a voice to pressured young girls. She confirmed that her father had married a 14-year-old girl named Joy and has lied about it. While season 2 of the show never aired on Fox in the US, some episodes including parts of Williams' story were broadcast internationally on networks such as NBC4, SIC Radical, and possibly Star World and Sony Channel. Only season 2 episode 10 of Williams' appearance is currently available online. Most of the episode 9 is considered lost, though snippets can be seen in other episodes. On June 23, 1938, 28-year-old Marion Perloff, a stenographer for Girl Scouts Inc., committed suicide by jumping from the 11th floor of New York's Time and Life building. In the weeks prior, she had suffered a nervous breakdown after a rejected marriage proposal. On the day of her death, she disappeared from her office and leapt from the window. Just before a company picnic, coincidentally, NBC was conducting tests for its early television broadcast. Cameraman Ross Plastid using a mobile unit captured Perloff's fall from the 6th floor downward while NBC engineers watched on monitors. The incident stunned the staff and drew a crowd of around 2,000 outside the building. Although filmed live, the footage never aired publicly. Plastid later recounted the events, describing seeing her body fall and the engineer's shocked reaction. The event became infamous as the first suicide ever captured on television, sparking a moral panic in radio and print media over television's potential to record controversial incidents. No known recordings or photos of Perloff's suicide survive. Early television broadcasts were rarely recorded, and even if captured, NBC likely would not have released the footage out of respect for Perloff and her family. On June 7, 2016, Colin Scott, a 23-year-old psychology graduate graduate died after falling into a thermal hot spring in Yellowstone National Park's Norris Geyser Basin while attempting to engage in hot potting with his sister Sable, a prohibited activity involving swimming in hot springs. The pair had ignored boardwalk warnings and ventured into a dangerous area, with Sable filming their actions on a smartphone. As Colin knelt to test the water, he slipped into the spring, which reached temperatures around 93 Celsius or 199 degrees Fahrenheit, suffering fatal scalding. Sable was unable to rescue him immediately and had to seek help at a nearby ranger museum due to lack of cell service. When officials arrived, partial remains of Colin were found, but by next morning the acidic boiling spring had completely dissolved his body, leaving only personal items behind. Colin had recently graduated from Pacific University and was remembered by his family as a devoted Christian and outstanding student. The incident highlighted the extreme dangers of the Yellowstone's area, where at least 22 deaths have occurred since 1890. A video filmed by Sable captured the entire event, including their deviation from the boardwalk, Colin slipping into the spring, and her attempts to save him. Due to the graphic and tragic nature of the footage, park officials have chosen not to release it publicly. On December 17, 1897, William Carr, a 37-year-old farm laborer from Liberty, Missouri, was executed by hanging for murdering his 3-year-old daughter Belle. Carr had killed Belle under the coercion of his wife Susan, initially planning to abandon her, but ultimately drowning her in the Missouri River. He confessed to the crime after arrest, showing no remorse and only concern for protecting his wife from implication. Carr's trial was swift and he was sentenced to death. Carr's execution attracted a crowd of about 800 people and was marked by chaotic behavior from spectators, some attempting to breach barricades to see the hanging more closely. Carr reportedly converted to Christianity the day before his execution and faced his death after a failed suicide attempt. He was hanged at 10:34 a.m., dying within 2 minutes when his neck broke. Following his death, his wife Susan became socially ostracized and their surviving daughter May was put up for adoption. The execution was historically significant as it became the first legitimate execution to be filmed. Frederick Guth, a manager with the American Phonographic Company, recorded the event using still photography and film, producing a documentary titled The Hanging of William Carr. The footage included shots of the crowd and the hanging itself, but was limited due to the crowd interference. The film attracted considerable media attention and controversy, with some criticizing its sensationalism and influence on public morals. Despite its historical importance, no footage of the hanging of William Carr has resurfaced, and it is considered a lost film. On July 6, 1898, Edward Hainson, an African-American man convicted of sexually assaulting a 14-year-old girl, was executed by hanging in a country jail yard in Jacksonville, Florida. Hainson maintained his innocence by expressed acceptance of his fate, claiming his soul was saved. Although the execution was intended to be private, a large crowd gathered with an attendance strictly controlled by the sheriff. The victim of the assault was allowed to witness the event despite restrictions. Arthur Marvin of the American Mutoscope Company filmed the execution, creating an execution by hanging, the second earliest known film legitimate execution after William Carr's hanging. The film shows Hainson being led to the gallows, the noose placed around his neck, and his drop from the platform. Hainson's actual death by strangulation took approximately 15 minutes, though the film ends before he passes away. The chaotic crowd attempted to rush the body, prompting police intervention. The footage was distributed across the United States and was commercially successful. It has been analyzed as an example of early cinema's fascination with death, reflecting racial tensions and the societal problems toward African Americans. The film's alternative title that is shown on screen highlighted the racialized spectacle of the execution, and scholars argue it contributed to the culture normalized of racialized violence in America. At least one complete mutoscope reel of the film survives and was sold to a private collector in 2015, but no footage is publicly accessible. Only a few still images are available, and it remains distinct from a 1905 reenactment film with a similar title. The Sun is a British tabloid newspaper founded in 1964 and owned by News Corp since 1969, known for sensationalized headlines like "Freddie Starr ate my hamster" and controversial reporting, including its false coverage of the Hillsborough disaster. By 2020, it sold over 1 million copies daily. The paper has faced numerous scandals, including connections to phone hacking investigations stemming from its sister paper, News of the World, which led to the closure of the paper in 2011. As part of police investigation into corruption and misconduct, 6 Sun journalists dubbed the Sun 6, went on trial in 2014 for allegedly conspiring to commit misconduct in public office. During the trial, former deputy news editor Ben O'Driscoll revealed that the paper maintained a 7-foot-high safe nicknamed the Black Museum or the Sun Safe, containing over 30 years of unpublished material, including photos, videos, and stories about politicians, celebrities, and the royal family. O'Driscoll described the contents as eye-popping, though editors typically assess the material before deciding if it served the public interest. The Sun 6 were mostly cleared of the charges by early 2015, with retrials eventually exonerating all but one journalist, whose conviction was later overturned in 2016. The safe has fueled speculation about its content, with theories suggesting it may include compromising material on prominent figures, potential criminal evidence, or merely sensationalized but non-incriminating stories. Between 1963 and 1965, Ian Brady and Myra Hindley committed the infamous Moors murders, killing five children and burying 4 on Saddleworth Moor. Their victims included Pauline Reed, John Kilbride, Keith Bennett, Leslie Ann Downey, and Edward Evans. Brady, who had a history of petty crimes and Nazi fascinations, and Hindley, who had an abusive upbringing, met while working at the same chemical company and became a couple in 1962. Hindley was indoctrinated in Brady's violent ideology after alluring her appearance to resemble an Aryan ideal. The murders involved luring victims under the pretense of help, sexual assault, and ultimately killing them, notably Brady recording the torture and murder of Downey and forced Hindley to witness and participate in other killings, even involving a third-party witness, Edward Evans' brother-in-law, to indoctrinate him. Their criminal activity ended when the witness reported Evans' murder, leading to their arrest in October 1965. Brady was convicted of 3 murders, Hindley of 2, and both received life sentences. Reed's body was discovered in 1987, but Bennett's has never been found. Brady was diagnosed as a psychopath in 1985 and spent decades in Ashworth Hospital, repeatedly requesting death and going on hunger strikes, but he was force-fed and remained alive until his death on May 15, 2017, and Hindley died in 2002. Despite Brady's death, 2 briefcases belonging to him have drawn public and police interest, as they may contain documents revealing the location of Keith Bennett's body. Access to the briefcase has been blocked by Brady's lawyer, Robin Macon, despite pleas from Bennett's family and the police. However, proposed legislation in 2021 under the Police Crime Sentencing and Courts Bill could empower authorities to access information about the location of human remains from deceased suspects, potentially allowing the briefcase to be opened in the future. Cannibal Holocaust is a 1980 Italian horror film directed by Ruggero Deodato. The story follows anthropologist Harold Monroe, who is sent to the Amazon to locate a missing documentary crew. He recovers from their footage and is horrified by their brutal actions, including graphic violence and ethical violations, in which he urges against its broadcast. The film is notable for pioneering the found footage style, influencing other horror films like The Blair Witch Project. The movie generated massive controversy due to its explicit violence, sexual assault, and on-screen killing of live animals, leading to allegations of murder and obscenity charges against Deodato. It was banned in several countries, including Italy, Australia, and Norway, though some bans have since been lifted. One particularly infamous plant scene, known as the piranha scene, involved a wounded Shamatari warrior being tied to a log and attacked by piranhas. However, filming was never completed due to uncontrollable piranhas and camera malfunctions, leaving only production stills. Rumors of this scene appearing in rare foreign releases have been debunked, and any surviving footage remains unknown. The Luby's cafeteria walkthrough video documents the aftermath of a mass shooting in Killeen, Texas on October 16, 1991, in which 23 people were killed. George Hennard, a 35-year-old former merchant marine, drove a pickup truck into the restaurant during a busy lunch, then opened fire with handguns. He specifically targeted women, reportedly shouting that they were vipers before killing them. Hennard was eventually shot by police and then committed suicide. The massacre lasted about 12 minutes, and their final victim died 3 days later. The shooting had lasting consequences, including prompting Texas to legalize concealed carry due to the survivor activism. The Luby's location reopened months later and remained operational until 2000. A different restaurant now occupies the site. The walkthrough video was filmed after the massacre, showing the victims' bodies, some repositioned and marked with green napkins for identification. Along with the crime scene, portions have been publicly released in documentaries such as Going Postal and Copycat Killers, though the full video has never been widely shared. Footage includes graphic imagery such as victims victims in the serving line, on dining chairs, and near the truck, with investigators documenting their positions and placing IDs on the deceased. The video's runtime is unknown but likely spans several hours. The full footage is believed to be held by the Killeen Police Department, and it is unclear if copies exist elsewhere. Paul Bernardo and Carla Homolka were a Canadian serial killer couple active between 1990 and 1992 in Ontario. They were responsible for the rape and murder of at least 3 minors, Leslie Maffey, Kristen French, and Homolka's younger sister Tammy. Bernardo's criminal activities began earlier in 1986 and included other assaults, leading to the wrongful conviction and later exoneration of Anthony Hannemeyer for a 1987 attack that Bernardo had committed. During their 1993 trial, Homolka struck a conversational plea bargain to testify against Bernardo in exchange for a reduced sentence, claiming she had been coerced into participating in the crimes and subjected to the abuse. This deal, widely called the deal with the devil, generated outrage when 6 videotapes of the pair committing their crimes were later discovered, revealing that Homolka had been a more willing participant than she claimed. The tapes, totaling approximately 3.5 hours, documented the murders, assaults, and a surviving 4th victim and other sexual crimes, including encounters with a prostitute and drugging another victim. While police initially found only 1 tape, the remaining recordings were discovered 16 months after Homolka's plea deal, hidden in a ceiling fixture. The tapes were eventually shown at Bernardo's trial, causing public backlash over the perceived leniency of Homolka's sentence. After serving 12 years for manslaughter, Homolka was released in 2005 and now lives in Quebec. While Bernardo remains in prison, the original tapes were destroyed in 2001, though transcripts survive, remaining inaccessible to the public. On January 8, 2011, Jared Lee Lautner carried out a mass shooting on a constituent meeting in a supermarket parking lot in Casas Adobes, Arizona. He shot Representative Gabby Giffords in the head at close range and opened fire on others nearby, killing 6 people, including federal judge John Roll, and injuring multiple others. Lautner was eventually subdued when Roger Salzberger struck him with a folding chair and was subsequently arrested. Security camera footage captured the attack, showing Lautner approaching Giffords with his 9mm pistol at his side before firing a single shot at point-blank range. The video also shows him shooting others around her within seconds. Judge Roll reportedly died while helping save the life of Giffords' aide, Ronald Barber, who survived despite being shot twice. The footage, described by investigators as detailed and graphic, has never been released to the public. It is believed to remain in FBI possession and is unlikely to ever be made available. Chechclear has become infamous for its disturbing content, often cited as one of the most unsettling clips tied to the Chechen-Russian conflict. The widely circulated version lasts only about 15 seconds, where it features a young man's head being torn off with a knife. The widely circulated version lasts only about 15 seconds, and it is featured in a Russian documentary highlighting wartime atrocities. In this version, the footage is grainy, heavily edited, and includes a sudden jump cut in the middle of the beheading. This cut obscures the full extent of the violence, the victim alive one moment and decapitated the next. However, according to those familiar with the original source, including someone named Yuri, who recounted its detail, the complete video ran for roughly 5 minutes. This longer version did not just capture the killing itself, but also depicted the victim being taunted, beaten, and humiliated in the moments leading up to his death. Disturbingly, viewers have noted that after the beheading, the sound of wind could be heard escaping from the victim's throat, an element that contributed to the clip's notorious reputation. While the edited 15-second segment remains accessible in historical or documentary context, the full uncut recording has largely disappeared from public view, fueling speculation and grim curiosity among those who have only heard about its existence. Leslie Van Houten, a member of the Manson family, was involved in the murders of Leno and Rosemary LaBianca on August 10, 1969. Convicted in 1971, she was initially sentenced to death, later commuted to life imprisonment after California abolished the death penalty. She spent 53 years incarcerated with over 20 parole attempts denied before her eventual release in 2023. Van Houten did not participate in the Tate murders, but played a central role in the LaBianca murders, stabbing Rosemary multiple times. Van Houten's early life was marked by family instability, sexual activity, and drug use, which contributed to her joining the Manson family in 1968. She became influenced by key members, particularly Patricia Krenwinkel, and sought to prove herself through violent acts. Arrested alongside other family members, she was convicted of 2 counts of murder and 1 of conspiracy. Her Convictions were overturned and reinstated over appeals and retrials, ultimately resulting in a sentence of 7 years to life. During her incarceration, Van Houten was involved in a long-term sexual letter correspondence with an unidentified double murderer in another state. Details about the letters, including their timing, content, and frequency, are largely unknown, and the identity of the correspondent remains a mystery. This correspondence was cited during her parole hearings, raising concerns about her rehabilitation and influencing at least one parole denial. The letters are presumed to remain in Van Houten's possession and are unlikely to be publicly released due to their personal nature. The Commune is a 1970 film directed by Monroe Buehler, inspired by the Manson family crimes and released just 7 months after the Tate LaBianca murders. It is considered one of the first films based on the event. The film premiered at the Eros Theater in Los Angeles on March 11, 1970, and later played at the Nob Hill Theater in San Francisco. Very little is known about the film, including its runtime, critical reception, or whether it was pornographic, though it was likely an exploitation feature rather than explicit pornography. Monroe Buehler, primarily a director of gay pornography films, may have sought to capitalize on public interest in the Manson murders. The film's title may have varied, with advertisements and listing referring to it as The Commune, Love in the Commune, or Love and Murder in the Commune. A Rolling Stone article from June 1970 described it as a weak skin flick based on Manson-type events, noting that it attracted very few viewers. Like many low-budget films of the era, The Commune did not have a wide distribution, and no footage has resurfaced, nor is it known if it ever received home or re-release screenings. Despite its obscurity, The Commune helped launch a trend of films inspired by the Manson family murders from 1971 to 1979. While most remain obscure, some later films such as Snuff gained cult status, demonstrating the early influence of The Commune. Sue Lightning's final Chatterbait stream, known as the Crywank stream, occurred in 2017 and has become a notorious lost moment of internet history. During the broadcast, Sue Lightning, now YouTuber The Sphere Hunter, experienced a public breakdown. No confirmed footage or chat logs of the stream have resurfaced, leaving the event known only through fragmented accounts. From escorting to cam shows, her career, however, was marked by personal struggles, including disillusionment with sex work and difficulties in her personal relationship. By 2016, she retired from adult filming, focusing on YouTube and a Patreon cosplay project to rebuild her identity. The final stream in March 2017 began normally but escalated as Sue stripped, cried, and spoke about feeling pressured and exploited in her career. She also alleged she had been raped off camera by other performers during a prior shoot. Amid mockery from viewers, she received a $500 donation, performed at a final act of masturbation while she was crying, and abruptly ended the stream. This event marked her permanent exit from the sex world and the start of her rebranding, known as the Sphere Hunter. On June 1971, health and longevity advocate Jerome Rodell suffered a fatal heart attack during a taping of the Dick Cavett Show. After completing his interview, Rodell slumped in his chair next to guest Pete Hamill, making a snoring-like sound. Cavett reportedly asked if there was a doctor in the audience, recognizing immediately that Rodell had died. Ironically, during his interview, Rodell had made comments about his health, saying he felt great, had survived a fall down through stairs, and laughed it off, and he also planned to live up to 100. These remarks were later noted as tragic irony by Cavett and his staff when reviewing the recording weeks later. The episode was never broadcast, with a rerun airing instead. Though Cavett has recounted the incident multiple times in interviews and documentaries, rumors suggest he may still possess the master tape, but this has never been confirmed. On the morning of July 15, 1974, news reporter Christine Chubbuck died by suicide on live television during a broadcast of her show. Christine, who had battled depression for years and previously attempted suicide, read several news stories before interrupting the broadcast with the line, "In keeping with the WXLT practice of presenting the most immediate and complete reports of local blood and guts news, TV40 presents what is believed to be a television first, in living color, exclusive coverage of an attempted suicide." She then shot herself with a revolver hidden in her bag. Staff and viewers initially thought it might be a prank. Christine was rushed to Sarasota Memorial Hospital, but died the following day. She left a note and prepared newscasts detailing her intentions. The original broadcast footage is generally considered lost. WXLT TV's master tape was confiscated by authorities and later given to her family, who reportedly destroyed it. A rumored copy exists with the FCC, but its existence is unverified. A purported recreation surfaced on YouTube in 2017, with a news director from WXLT TV confirmed it was fake. Audio recordings of the pre-suicide newscast have surfaced through private collectors, confirming the authenticity of the broadcast up to the moment of her death, though the actual suicide audio has generally not been released out of respect. On September 11, 2001, 4 coordinated terrorist attacks by Al-Qaeda killed 2,977 people in the US, including victims of the World Trade Center towers who fell from the buildings due to fires and blocked stairways. Many of these falls were photographed or filmed, though footage showing impacts is extremely rare. Around 2006, a video titled "Lol Superman" reportedly surfaced online, allegedly showing jumpers impacting the ground. It was shared as a shock video on sites like YouTube and forums such as 4chan, with viewers describing graphic imagery, though details varied and were often inconsistent. The video was later removed from the internet and its existence became the subject of Lost Media investigations. In 2022, interest in the video was renewed via Reddit, leading to speculation about its content and origin. Witnesses described shaky cam footage showing 2 cameramen near the North Tower and graphic falls, though some claims have been disputed. Various attempts to locate the video, including supposed sightings on Ogreish, Faces of Death series, and FOIA requested FBI footage, were either debunked or remain unverified. Investigations have since debunked images once thought to be from the video, such as a pre-9/11 tourist shot mistaken for Lol Superman. The FBI may hold footage matching the description, but it is likely inaccessible due to criminal investigations. To date, no confirmed copy of Lol Superman exists, and its existence remains speculative. Albert Fish was an American serial killer, rapist, and cannibal who murdered at least 3 children in 1920s. Due to the brutality of his crimes, the media dubbed him the most vicious child slayer in criminal history. His crimes from 1910s to 20s included cannibalism and the murder of at least 3 children. The police, after tracing one of Fish's crimes, were able to trace the letter, leading to an arrest and subsequent confession to the murders of all of his victims. At first, despite a plea of insanity, Fish was found guilty of all of his murders and sentenced to death by electric chair. He was executed on January 16, 1936, but before his execution, Fish wrote a final statement, but his lawyer refused to release the notes, calling them the most filthy string of obscenities that I have ever read. Last Breath Studios, sometimes referred to as Last Press Studios, is reportedly a little-known Russian studio that allegedly produced snuff films in the 1990s and early 2000s. Very little is confirmed about its existence, and information about it appears primarily on a single Reddit post, MVK, the Russian social network, suggesting it may be more legend than fact. The studio supposedly operated in secrecy, distributing films on VHS tapes that reportedly cost around $1,500 each, and its activities were largely private. Kathleen Jo Henry, a 30-year-old Alaska Native woman, was murdered and sexually assaulted on September 4, 2019 at a Town Place Suites hotel in Anchorage, Alaska. Her killer, Brian Steven Smith, recorded her death in photographs and videos, which were later found on an SD card by a woman who had stolen a phone from Smith's truck. Henry remains were discovered along Seward Highway on October 2, 2019. Smith, born in South Africa in 1971 and later a US citizen, was identified through the photographic and video evidence. He was arrested on October 8, 2019 and subsequently charged with a second murder. After allegedly confessing and revealing the location of her body, authorities now consider Smith a serial killer, and investigations into his past in both the US and South Africa are ongoing. Kathleen Henry had struggled with addiction and legal issues, obtained her GED while incarcerated, and enjoyed social media and poetry. Smith had worked at the Marriott Hotel where Henry was killed and had rented a discounted room there at the time of the murder. On February 22, 2024, a jury found Smith guilty on all 14 charges, and on July 12, 2024, he was sentenced to 226 years in prison. Karina Saunders, a 19-year-old from Oklahoma City, was found murdered and dismembered behind a grocery store in Bethany, Oklahoma. Over 10 years ago, known as a bright and talented young woman, she was passionate about opera, excelled academically, and came from a loving home. Though she struggled briefly with alcohol and drugs after high school, Saunders was last seen alive on September 28, 2011, leaving a Taco Bell with an older man, Kenny Richards, who was allegedly trying to groom her for pornography. Jimmy Lee Macy and Luis Ruiz have been charged with first-degree murder in connection to her death, but no official indictments or sentences have occurred due to insufficient evidence for a trial. A cell phone video perpetually showing Saunders being tortured, murdered, and dismembered by Macy and Ruiz has circulated via eyewitness accounts. Though it has never been confirmed or recovered by law enforcement, eyewitnesses claim either to have seen seen the murder directly or received the video from someone who had, but its existence remains unverified. Without this video or other concrete evidence in law enforcement's possession, Macy and Ruiz cannot be prosecuted despite strong suspicion. Over a decade later, the case remains cold, and the likelihood of the alleged cell phone footage surfacing either for investigation or online diminishes within time, leaving the full details of Saunders' murder unresolved. On April 18, 1985, 17-year-old Marion Coraline Terry was found dead by hanging in the home of Jeffrey Jones, a former insurance worker turned amateur filmmaker and screenwriter in the UK. Jones reportedly had a disturbing fetish involving women in black satin dresses with nooses, and he had a history of photographing and videotaping women in dangerous situations. Marion had responded to an advertisement for a part-time modeling job and arrived at Jones' home in the afternoon. Hours later, Jones' ex-girlfriend called an ambulance after he confessed to killing her. When emergency responders arrived, Jones had taken a large amount of aspirin, seemingly attempting suicide. He was hospitalized and police later arrested him after finding photos, videos, and script titled "Enough Rope," which appeared linked to Marion's death. Jones claimed Marion's death was accidental during a photo shoot, alleging she struggled and bit him, but he admitted to killing her in hatred. The exact nature of the footage or the script is unknown, and if any recordings exist, they may show her actual death. The Guy game, an adult video game developed by Top Heavy Studios in 2004, was a trivia game show for PC, PlayStation 2, and Xbox. The game featured live-action footage of women on spring break, and its development was inspired by the Girls Gone Wild video series. In 2004, an anonymous plaintiff sued the game's developers and publishers, seeking to halt its release. The plaintiff, who was 17 at the time of filming, was shown exposing her breasts in the game. She claimed she had been unaware that her likeness was used in the game. Or its promotional materials, and argued that her minor status made her release form void. She alleged that the publishers had been negligent in verifying her age, especially given the inconsistencies in her paperwork. Top Heavy Studios countered that the plaintiff had willingly participated and misrepresented her age, leading them to reasonably believe she was an adult. However, in January 2005, a court granted an injunction to stop the game's distribution, a decision that was upheld on appeal. Following the injunction, Top Heavy Studios ceased distribution of the game. Stephen Sean Griffiths, known as the Crossbow Cannibal, murdered 3 women between June 2009 and May 2010 in Bradford, West Yorkshire. He lured sex workers to his apartment, killed them with a crossbow, dismembered and partially cannibalized their bodies, and disposed of the remains in the River Aire. Griffiths also photographed his victims post-mortem, and in one case recorded himself butchering a victim on a mobile phone. Griffiths had a violent criminal history dating back to his teenage years, including knife attacks, and was diagnosed as a schizoid psychopath. Despite appearing to turn his life around by 2009, he maintained an obsession with serial killers and studied homicide academically. Authorities had previously monitored him due to concerns about his behavior, but he was not detained under the Mental Health Act due to the lack of evidence of treatable disorder. His final murder, Suzanne Blamiers, was captured on CCTV, making it the most infamous of his crimes. Griffiths lured her by pretending to be a photographer, and after killing her, he was filmed dragging her body back to his flat and flipping off the camera. A caretaker reviewing the footage later alerted police, leading to Griffiths' arrest, where he confessed and self-identified as the Crossbow Cannibal. In December 2010, Griffiths pled guilty to all 3 murders and received a whole life order, meaning life imprisonment without parole. He is currently held in HM Prison, Long Lartin. Due to the graphic and disturbing nature of the crimes, footage and images of his victims have not been publicly released, and full CCTV and dismemberment media remain inaccessible. In 2006, in Werribee, Australia, a group of teenage boys calling themselves the Teenage Kings of Werribee filmed themselves committing several crimes. These included the sexual assault of a 17-year-old girl with a developmental disability. They produced a DVD of their actions, sold it for $5 each, and shared clips on YouTube titled "Cunt the Movie." The footage captured the sexual assault and humiliation of the girl, where some boys urinated on her, set her hair on fire, and forced her into sexual acts. The girl had previously met the boys online and agreed to meet them at a shopping center before they led her to the river where they assaulted her. As mentioned in a previous entry, the Columbine High School massacre is one of the deadliest shootings in all of North America. After the shootings, investigators discovered several videotapes known as the basement tapes, documenting their motives, plans, and kill list. In December 1999, journalist Tim Roche viewed 5 of these tapes and reported on them, prompting the victims' families to demand access. The tapes were screened for families and then locked away indefinitely. Later, some related short films and recordings were released, but the bulk of the original original tapes remain unseen by public. In 2011, Sheriff Ted Mink authorized the destruction of the unreleased tapes, which was confirmed in 2015, meaning no copies are known to exist. Evidence item number 265, recorded in mid-March 1999, showed Harris and Klebold discussing their planned massacre, weapons acquisition, personal grievances, and philosophical views. They also joked about their acts being made into a movie and referenced their journals. Evidence item number 298 included two tapes, one from April 11th, showing Harris and Klebold preparing for the attack, buying fuel and propane, and Harris apologizing to his family while showing his journal dubbed The Writings of God. The second tape contained school project footage with minimal relevance to the massacre. Evidence item number 333, labeled Top Secret Rampart, documented late March to April 20 activities, including weapon preparation, Harris expressing remorse and sadness, and both boys recording goodbye messages. The final footage, captured about 30 minutes before the attack, showed static imagery referencing the school and a bomb, marking the immediate lead up to the shooting. Pseudo Scorpion by Zenjin is a purportedly infamous and highly controversial album, rumored to consist entirely of sound bites taken from child abuse and child pornography videos. The earliest mention appeared on 4chan archives in 2017-18, though it is unclear whether the album ever truly existed. Some sources claimed it was once downloadable via sites like Mega, but it was now inaccessible. Discussions suggest the album might not contain music at all, instead being a collage of disturbing audio samples. The alleged album cover supposedly features the image of a young girl, allegedly taken from the abuse material. Very little is known about the creator, Zenjin. Some speculate it could be a single individual, an alias, or a collaboration, given the legal risk of handling such material. The name Zenjin translates from Japanese as all people, which adds to the theory of it being a collective project. Some researchers draw parallels to Buyer's Market, a sound collage album by Peter Sotos, produced by Steve Albini, which compiled accounts of sex crimes. Pseudo Scorpion may be seen as more extreme homage. Several YouTube uploads claim to contain the album, though at least one notable upload in 2020 appears to be harmless. To the illegal and morally reprehensible nature of the content, discussions around Pseudo Scorpion are heavily moderated, and many warnings exist against attempting to obtain this album. Dumb Little Bunny was a 27-minute short horror film created in 2020 by Salvatore Palmieri and Andy Diaz. Styled as a fan project inspired by Lucifer Valentine's Slaughter Vomit Doll series, it was briefly uploaded to YouTube before being deleted by Palmieri within the same year. The film reportedly centered on a bleak narrative about three girls unable to survive in their world, presented as a fragmented collage-like story. After its removal, collectors and horror fans attempted to track down copies of the film through private trackers, archives, and forums, but came out empty-handed. Palmieri himself distanced from the project, deleting his Letterboxd account and removing references to his work, possibly due to backlash the film received. As a result, Dumb Little Bunny is considered a lost film, with the only known copy likely still in Palmieri's possession. Snuff R73 is the most notorious gore video of all time, verified by a YouTuber named Cold Raven, and it consists of 21 clips showing war aftermath and other distressing footage involving deceased children. The mixtape is supposed to be 10 minutes, but apparently there are several that are more longer. Similar to Chechclear, Snuff R73 has a lot of rumors being surrounded about it. There's of course Snuff R73 sequels that say that there are 3.5 hours long, featuring illegal child material, and even shorter versions that are like an hour and 10 minutes long. There are copycat versions of other gore mixtapes that is supposed to be inspired by MD Pope. And of course there is always the probability that some of them are probably troll videos or someone basically lying to you. Well everyone, that is it. That's a long video I have to edit, and it's a long video you guys had to have watched. Thank you guys for watching. This is one of my most ambitious, longest videos I have made in this channel. I really hope you guys watch it, listen to it at least. I'm gonna have the best effects, but I hope you guys enjoyed the video. Yeah, a lot of these entries are horrible. I tried to scale it from, least disturbing to most disturbing, but it's pretty hard as some of the disturbing facts aren't as known as others, so I had to also put in the mystery ability of the lost media, you know, to basically rank it. Yeah, a lot of this lost media should not be found. Maybe the top 2, I guess, if you want to play the fake Metal Slug game, but why would you when you have the OG? It's just in bad taste. You know, everything about this list should not be found. A lot of this contains gore videos, which we already see it whether we want to or not, and if you do want to see it, you kind of want help. A lot of these are basically evidence of murders that have happened, you know, tragedies from the outside world, sometimes from the inside world as well, that are private for some people, you know? Like, nobody really wants to watch Sphere Hunter's final Chatterbait video where she's having a mental breakdown. Even if you find her attractive, there are other videos and other stuff she posts. So please don't show any hate to her or anything trying to discover this, you know, piece of lost media. The only reason I talked about it is because apparently it is sought after, and a lot of the other entries are like, you know, gore mixtapes, beheading videos. You know, clearly that doesn't have to be seen, and some of them aren't even confirmed. You know, stuff like LOL Superman, Zenjin, Pseudo Scorpion. Nobody needs to know about those albums and pieces of lost media. Nobody cares about them. We should never see it in the day of light because it is inappropriate in multiple ways. And finally, I kind of wanted to just thank everyone. This was kind of my redo of my previous lost media videos where I had a lot of errors in some entries where I talked about it. Maybe I had audio issues as well. So hopefully you guys can understand this better. Hopefully it is, you know, digestible and easier for you guys. And yeah, this is the second to last video of the big Halloween special. Hopefully you guys enjoy it, and hopefully this satiates your hunger for lost media. I'm probably going to talk about it, you know, on this channel because I do love talking about lost media, but when it comes to this disturbing, not safe for life pieces of lost media that should never be found, unless there's another piece that is very interesting or suddenly becomes popular, I probably might not talk about it and just probably tell you guys to watch this video. So thank you guys for watching. Please remember, like, comment, subscribe. It helps out this channel very much. Please watch the previous videos of this month. Please, everything matters. Comment, subscribe, like. I can't say it enough. Thank you guys for watching. Bye.